Okay, so we went over this today in class, but I noticed that some of you had questions, and it made me think that that you might need it a little more slowly. This is all review, but I do understand that grammar is one of those things that sometimes we just need to go over it again. So I'm going to go through it again. But as you know, because this is not your first grammar lesson, there are lots of rules in grammar, and then there are lots of exceptions to the rules, and some don't make sense, and that's why we have books that we can look things up on all the time, and even as an adult, there are times when I have to look things up. But what I want you to get kind of comfortable with is the regular patterns, the regular rules, not the exceptions. I don't want to throw you off with an exception. We will cover a couple. But just know when you don't know, sometimes you can look it up. That's the best thing about reference books and having access to the internet and all that. So here we go. First thing you should always do, mark off the prepositional phrases. Why? Because the subject and the verb will never be in a prepositional phrase. So, first sentence, each of the air traffic controllers. Of the air traffic controllers is a prepositional phrase. With the departing and arriving pilots is a prepositional phrase. So what is the subject? Each. And you're choosing the verb that agrees with each. Each was. Okay? If you had mistakenly chosen controllers as your subject, you may have mischosen the verb were that agreed with this object of the preposition. So this is a prepositional phrase. Preposition, object of the preposition. But that's not what we're agreeing with. We want each was. This is singular, and this is singular. All right, number 2. Both of your answers is or are correct. Mark off the prepositional phrase. Both are. Now, if you had accidentally not marked off the prepositional phrase and chosen answers, you still would have gotten the correct answer because this is plural and this is plural. But it's good practice to mark it off. Okay, sorry I had a little interruption. Okay, number 3, a team with too many superstars. Mark off the prepositional phrases with too many superstars. So now your subject is team, and that makes it easier to choose your verb. A team has. Okay, if you'd made the mistake and chosen superstars as your subject, which we know it can't be because it's in a prepositional phrase, you may have said have. And a team doesn't have. A team has. Number 4, we learned mumps is like saying flu, right? Even though it looks plural because it has an S on it, we're going to treat it like a singular because it's A disease. So like you could replace it with the flu. And then we would know that if this is singular, like the flu, we would choose is as the verb. Laura is one of those students who always take good notes. Now, this is the one that we had, I told you is weird. Okay? And the book tells us, if we look in the book, and I'll show you this tomorrow, anytime that you have verbs in a clause that follow one of those, you always use the plural verb. Why? Because the English language just has little things like that. So even though we've just, you know, absolutely beat it into you that that one is singular and you should take the, you know, one. Looks like takes would agree with one. Well, it doesn't because it's one of those. When you have this phrase in a sentence and you're having to choose a verb, no matter what's here afterwards, you're going to take the plural verb. One of those, you take good notes. This is the plural version. Okay? I don't want it to throw you. It's just one of those rules, and it's one of those things that if you run across it later in your life and you're having to make a decision, you can look it up. I would never put one like that on the test or quiz. Okay, let's move on. Lewis's greatest problem before a race. So before is a preposition, so before race is a prepositional phrase. subject, great problem, problem is. Okay? What is Lewis's and greatest? These are both adjectives describing the problem. All right, here we go. We have Mrs. Caplice, or Caplice, or I don't know how you say it. This is the subject. Now, in addition to these, don't count. Okay, because we're going to mark them off. They don't count. Normally, if we said Mrs. Caplice, Mr. Ruiz, and Ms. Rogers, then that would be plural, and we would say were. But the way it's written, in addition to these people, this doesn't count, and we just are going to agree with the first one. So we're going to choose was. Okay? And the reason is because this is all in a prepositional phrase. So you're only agreeing with the one. All right? Many a financial investor has, okay, many a financial investor has a headache on a day when the stock market drops. This is not a prepositional phrase, so nothing gets marked off. Number 9, an adventure novel, The Three Musketeers. This is supposed to be, there should be a comma right there. Okay, so this is called in a positive because it's set off by commas and it's renaming the noun novel. Okay, and we don't count it when we're looking for the verb. So an adventure novel, you're going to agree with novel. A novel has. Okay, you don't agree with musketeers because this is in the appositive, and then a positive renames the noun before it. Okay, so has been made into a movie many times. Kathy doesn't look like her sister Missy at all. I don't think we need to go over that one anymore. Each of the students had brought, okay, now we're no longer subject-verb agreement, we're doing pronoun antecedent agreement. Remember, a pronoun replaces a noun. Sometimes it replaces another pronoun. And it refers back to that noun, and they have to agree. You can't have a singular antecedent and a plural pronoun. They have to agree, just like subject and verb. So each of the students had brought, and if this is singular, then you choose his. Each brought his, because each is singular. If you had said all of the students, then you could choose their, because you would be referring to more than one person. When we got to the picnic grounds, we discovered that neither Fred nor Bill. Now, what makes this important is that when you say neither nor, then you're just choosing one or the other, so then you go with the singular pronoun. If you said and, then you've now joined the two and it's plural and you choose their. But we've said neither nor. So you agree with only one of them. You keep it singular. The number of people seeking jobs in the computer industry is or are. So you have to agree with the number is. Okay? You're not agreeing with people. You're not agreeing with jobs. The number is rising rapidly. And sometimes when you take out everything else and just say the subject and the verb together, it makes more sense to you. These things in the middle can get pretty confusing. The number of people is rising rapidly. The number is rising rapidly. Number is singular. So you choose the singular verb. All right, now here we've got another weird one. Jane or the twins. So when you're joining with or, remember we said you're going to take them as both as singular, but one's singular and one's plural. All right? So you go with the one that's closer to the verb. And this is not what you do on anything else. When on all the other ones, we're trying to get you not to think that way. But when you have or, so you each are thought of as singular, but one of them is actually plural, it just complicates things. So this one is Jane or the twins are sure to be home when you call. Again, one of those that's just not normal. Don't let it throw you. At the dance, prepositional phrase, some of the food served during the breaks. Okay, so some served was. Some is one of those words that can be either, and it just depends on how it's used. Some of the food served during the breaks was home cooked. Our city is proud of its or their culture. Our city is proud of, well, what are you replacing? You're replacing city. Is city singular or plural? City is singular. So you choose the singular pronoun. My mother thought that 25 was too much to pay for the designer t-shirt. You're saying was because when you refer to 25, it's a number, and numbers are singular because they're one. Even though there's $25 in that 25, it functions as a singular. So you say was. All right. As I shaded my eyes from the bright orange, yellow, and green plaid material, Doug said, "Here's my new trousers," or "Here are my new trousers." This is a common mistake when we're talking, and we need to be careful not to do this when we're writing. Here is, this stands for here is. Here is my new trousers. No, trousers is plural, so you say here are my new trousers. When you use the contraction here's, you're actually saying here is. If that's not what you mean, then you need to choose a different way to say it. All right, one of the women hurt her or their foot in the race. Well, we're just going to mark off of the women. Of the women. One hurt her, because we're going to agree with one, which is singular. This is also a prepositional phrase. You can tell these sentences are old. The Twin Towers of the World Trade Center in New York City. The World Trade Center in New York City. Is or are? Towers are. Okay. Center and city are both singular, so if you didn't mark these off, you could have gotten confused, but you're agreeing with the subject, towers. Okay? All right. If you have more questions, come and see me, and we'll be doing plenty more of this.